Hi, my name is Christina Wright. Today we'll be presenting my research proposal, Hispanic Women's Perspectives of In-Hospital Breastfeeding Education. In order to understand this topic proposal, we must clearly define breastfeeding as the feeding of an infant or young child with breast milk directly from the female breast. However, this may also include expressed breast milk. The World Health Organization, WHO, UNICEF, and Healthy People 2020 all recommend breastfeeding for at least 6 months for an infant and mother to receive all of the benefits of breastfeeding. There are many benefits for breastfeeding for both the baby and mother. For infants, there are fewer infections and have lower risks for chronic issues later in life. Mothers also receive benefits from breastfeeding, including lowering the risk for cancers, blood pressure levels, and strengthening their bones, according to Women's Health 2017. Yet there are many people who do not want to breastfeed, with minorities with the lowest breastfeeding rates. According to Jones, Power, Queenan, and Shulkin, Hispanics are the second highest minority who choose not to breastfeed. Not only are there benefits for breastfeeding for the mother and infant, but there is also an impact on society. According to Ball and Wright, 1999, for every 1,000 babies who are not breastfed compared to exclusively breastfed babies, there are an extra 2,033 physician visits, an extra 212 hospitalization days, and an additional 609 prescriptions. Bradshaw and Runhold proposed that if 90% of women could breastfeed exclusively to 6 months, the United States could save annually over $13 billion and prevent the deaths of nearly 1,000 infants. California has one of the highest rates of infants receiving any breastfeeding, 90.2% in the United States. However, that number quickly drops within 6 months to 58.5%, and exclusive breastfeeding, or no introduction of formula, to 24.8% at 6 months, according to the CDC 2016. San Bernardino County has one of the largest drops for the category any breastfeeding in the United States, from 79.9% at birth to 60% within 3 months, and exclusive breastfeeding, or no introduction of formula, from 34.7% at birth to 22.6% at 3 months, according to the California Department of Public Health 2013. Additionally, San Bernardino County is ranked 38th in the state for exclusive breastfeeding, according to California WIC Association and UC Davis Lactation Center, 2015. Given Jones et al. 2015 research that supports minorities tend to have lower breastfeeding rates, it is important to note that San Bernardino County is predominantly Hispanic at 51.1% of the population, according to the United States Census Bureau. This data indicates the desire for women to breastfeed their child at birth, but the decrease in breastfeeding rates at 3 months postpartum suggests women lack sufficient support systems as they strive to maintain this behavior, according to Satcher 2001. A practice that encourages breastfeeding behavior is the Baby Friendly USA Hospital Initiative, an accreditation which provides evidence-based care that supports baby bond through breastfeeding. Steps 2 and 3 of the 10 steps to successful breastfeeding encourage educating staff and pregnant women on the benefits and management of breastfeeding. According to Perez Escamilla Martinez and Segura Perez 2016 and DiGirolamo Grummer-Strawn and Fine 2008 research, there is a dose-response relationship between BFHI accredited hospitals and improved rates of the initiation, exclusivity, and duration of breastfeeding. In 2013, California passed Senate Bill 402, which mandates all birthing hospitals and birth centers in California achieve this baby-friendly designation by 2025. Thus, this new law mandates every hospital provide breastfeeding education to maternity patients. Yet the BFHI does not specify what type, sources, or timing of education the institution is required to provide to the expecting mother. The majority of breastfeeding research has focused on attitudes and beliefs about breastfeeding, including differentiation of attitudes and interventions by population segmentation, self-efficacy, type of interventional education, the effects of BFHI, and in a smaller category, the role of healthcare professionals in improving breastfeeding rates. Throughout the literature, the evidence is clear that education alone is inadequate, and breastfeeding education programs need to focus on empowering women to breastfeed. breastfeed. A component of empowerment is also the ability to teach the mother the skills to transfer the knowledge gained from the interventions into action, according to Wood et al. In 2016. Not only is it important that we focus on the literature, but the BFHI is also difficult to instate if the education and involvement of parents is inadequate, according to Nyquist 2013. Additionally, Lundin, Sorensen, Bland, George, and Snyder 2016's research encourages the examination of women's and families' perceptions and experiences with the BFHI. Not only is it important to evaluate a woman's perspective of the BFHI, but her perspective of the education received is also a strong component of evaluating the overall effectiveness of an education program. Most research that has been conducted has used theory of planned behavior, trans-theoretical model, and Bandura's cognitive social theory. However, very few of these theories incorporate the role of culture, such as Leninger's cultural care theory. Llewellyn and Street 2010 and Street and Llewellyn's 2013 research revealed race and culturally relevant education alone was not a key indicator in breastfeeding practices. However, Wood et al. Argues that women's perspectives of the education received is more influential in her choice of breastfeeding rather than the breastfeeding education itself. The choice for women to breastfeed does not solely rest on the type of education a woman receives, but also on the social and environmental factors, according to Amir and Warren. Thus, the purpose of this research is to explore how social and cultural constructs are addressed in breastfeeding education in the hospital that contribute to or hinder the Hispanic women's choice to breastfeed. We are now going to dive into the methodology as to how we will conduct this research. In order to conduct this research, I used the constructs of phenomenology as a methodology rather than a philosophy and incorporated Leninger's cultural care theory. Hermeneutic phenomenology is a subclassification of phenomenology, which is useful for this research due to the heavy emphasis on both the descriptions of an individual's understanding and feelings about an experience and the interpretive components, according to Higgs, Patterson, and Kinsella. According to Higgs et al. 2012, there are three constructs of hermeneutic phenomenology, which includes fusion of horizons, dialogue of questions and answers, and the hermeneutic circle. These three components are highly intertwined, as horizons are fused using questions and answers to obtain different perspectives and considerations of the phenomenon, which is breastfeeding, being studied. The hermeneutic circle is the circular process of reading, reflective writing, and interpretation to understand the phenomenon being studied. Cultural care theory's primary construct is cultural competence for the healthcare professional and the ability to be adaptable in providing education. This theory emphasizes illness and wellness in context of cultural norms, perceptions, and coping skills, according to Leninger 1988 and 2001, thus combining hermeneutic phenomenology and the recognition that different groups of people require different types of care and understanding of their backgrounds are beneficial to developing questions to better gain insight into the Hispanic population on their perspectives of breastfeeding education received in the hospital. In order to conduct this study, participants shall be recruited through Facebook breastfeeding support groups in both English and Spanish over a 1-month window or shorter until 10 eligible participants are registered. The flyer will be approved by the Institutional Review Board at California State University prior to posting and prior to conducting this research. Women interested in enrolling in this study may contact the study via email at iebreastfeeding@gmail.com, and this email is safeguarded with a password and adheres to all ethical principles of research as outlined in the CSUN IRB. Once the participant sends the inquiry email, the researcher will respond with a brief questionnaire to ensure they fit the criteria. After the participant has been deemed eligible, another email will be sent with the informed consent for the participant to read, sign, and date, and the option to enroll in one of the 2 scheduled focus group times. The researcher or research assistant will then confirm receipt of signed informed consent and co-sign and confirm scheduled time. Email reminders will be sent to participants at 1 week and 1 day prior to the focus groups, respectively. There will be 2 focus groups led by a moderator who is fluent in English and Spanish. One focus group will be exclusively in Spanish, and the other focus group will be exclusively in English. The sessions shall be tape recorded using 2 different machines to ensure this session is recorded. The assistant moderator will listen and complete the field notebook as she is listening. At the end of the focus group, the assistant moderator will provide a summary to the group of women and ensure it is an adequate summary. We will speak and ask the following 5 questions in our focus groups. 1, describe your experiences with your nurses, doctors, or dietitians when they educated you on breastfeeding while in the hospital. 2, what are your perceptions of the breastfeeding support from your nurses, doctors, or dietitians you received in the hospital? 3, do you feel being Hispanic hindered or benefited your access to breastfeeding education in the hospital? 4, how do you feel your cultural beliefs were respected or not respected in the hospital? Question 5, how could the education provided in the hospital be more tailored to yourself or other Hispanic women? What do you want us to know when we are teaching you? After we have gone through these questions, we will have the assistant moderator summarize the focus group, followed by the question, is this an adequate summary? Have we missed anything? Additionally, you can see the following probing questions. In order to complete the data analysis, we shall hire transcriptionists to type up the audio recordings of focus groups, and we will develop a contract with this person to ensure that no privacy information is shared. We will develop a code book using transcripts in the field notebook. We'll then upload the transcript and field notebook to MaxQDA, a qualitative data analysis software program to further examine the themes and code the data using common phrases or words to develop the themes and sub-themes. And then once the codes are saturated, we will stop collecting any more information because that is an indication that it should be stopped according to Charmez 2006. On this slide, I discuss the data validity and reliability. Throughout my research, I found that Lincoln and Guba suggested using different terms to assess qualitative data instead of quantitative data. So they suggested using the word credibility instead of internal validity, and I tested for this using triangulation, prolonged engagement of the researcher in the field. I also investigated transferability by using the presentation of discrepant information and rich, thick descriptions. I inquired for dependability by following established procedures and processes using the same focus group questions on all groups, and then also looked at the accuracy. I will look at the accuracy of interview transcripts and look at intercoder agreement. Lastly, I checked for confirmability by I will use accurate and truthful reports of the data, disclosure of bias, and the use of an external auditor. Possible limitations of this research is that it's a phenomenological design. Therefore, we've recruited a very small specific sample size, and stronger studies more commonly use random sampling techniques. However, that was not a possibility with this research. Women were also pre-screened for this study, will also be pre-screened for this study, so that may eliminate certain perspectives from women who maybe were sick or ill and may have had different experiences. And lastly, this sample was specific to Hispanic women and it may not be applicable to women of other ethnicities. Here are all of my references, and feel free to write me any kind of questions in our forum posts. Thank you.